The next hero will either save Burner and lock magic dominance for another year, or completely break the meta, and bring physical teams back from the dead. And here is the thing. History already told us which one is coming. But before I give you that answer, we need to go through the evidence. Because if you skip straight to the prediction without understanding how we got here, you will miss why this matters so much. Stay with me. This one is worth it. To understand where we are going, we need to go back to where the shift started. And it started more quietly than most players remember. September 2025. Krista gets a full rework and new Ascension skills. Same month, Cascade arrives. At the time most players saw these as separate events. A hero update here, a new release there. But looking back now, that was the moment. That was the first signal that something was changing. Krista's rework made her dangerous again. And Cascade arriving alongside her gave magic teams their first real weapon. The signs were there in September if you knew what to look for. Then November 2025, Electra. Now the cracks became serious. Magic teams were no longer just an option. They were a threat. Then January 2026, Fluffy landed. And it was over. Physical teams had dominated this game for years. Arena, Guild Wars, Clash of Worlds, Area of Conquest, physical damage was king everywhere. Fast battles, burst damage, frontline pressure. That was the identity of Hero Wars Dominion. 3 heroes across 4 months dismantled all of it. Cascade cracked the foundation. Electra broke it open. Fluffy finished the job. Magic teams took control and they have not let go since. Now here is something interesting that happened inside this Magic takeover that most players did not fully notice. Old heroes came back. I am talking about heroes that have been in this game for 5 years or more. Heroes that many players had retired, sitting on the bench collecting dust. Lars and Krista are one story. Krista earned her comeback through a full rework and new Ascension skills. The developers invested in her directly. Lars did nothing. No rework? No new skills. Lars just stood next to Krista and got carried back into relevance by pure synergy. His comeback is entirely borrowed from hers. Which honestly, as a Lars player, you will take it. But the most interesting comeback belongs to Jorgen. Jorgen was not just out of the meta for a few months. He was gone for a very long time. And there is a specific reason why. When Sebastian was released into the game, he brought something that directly countered Jorgen's core ability. Sebastian can cleanse negative effects, which means Jorgen's energy stealing stops working the moment Sebastian is on the battlefield. Jorgen became irrelevant almost overnight. Players retired him. He disappeared from competitive play. And this is exactly why what I am about to show you about Burner should scare you, because the same kind of chain reaction is happening again right now. Then Fluffy arrived. Fluffy can cancel Sebastian's ultimate skill. And when Sebastian cannot use his ultimate, his cleanse protection is gone. Which means Jorgen's energy control works again. Fluffy did not just shift the meta. Fluffy indirectly resurrected Jorgen. It was a chain reaction. Sebastian killed Jorgen. Fluffy killed Sebastian's protection. Jorgen came back to life. That is how deep these meta connections go in this game. Polaris is a different case, newer hero, not forgotten, just finding more use as the magic landscape keeps expanding. And Orion and Augustus never really left. They held their position before Lyria changed things and they are still holding it now. Consistent. Reliable. Built different. So then we got Burner. And Mushy and Shroom with new Ascension skills. The big question everyone was asking, did they change the meta? No. Not directly. So if Burner changed nothing, why did the developers release her at all? The answer to that question is the whole point of this video. Electra and Fluffy teams are still dominating everywhere. There is no stable defensive Burner team right now that can reliably hold against all attack styles. The magic dominance did not end with Burner's arrival. But Burner did something more subtle. She added alternatives. With Burner in the roster, you now have ways to counter certain Electra builds. Not all of them, but some. That is more than players had before. More importantly, Burner changed the pace of battles. Think about the rhythm of this game over the past year. Physical teams were fast. Cascade, Orion, Krista teams were also fast, burst damage, quick finish. Speed was everything. Burner introduced something completely different. Combine Fluffy, Jorgen, Burner with a tank and a healer, and that battle does not end in 30 seconds. We are talking over a minute. Sometimes close to 2 minutes. And that is not a rare case anymore. That is a legitimate battle style that players are running regularly now. That is a third rhythm that did not exist before. Slow battles are now a real strategic option. And that changes how you build, how you attack, and how you think about defense entirely. So no, Burner did not flip the meta. But she added complexity that was not there before. And that matters for what comes next. So now we arrive at the real question. Why did the developers release Burner in Dominion at this moment? There are only two logical answers. Path 1. The next hero is designed to support Burner teams. To give them the missing piece. To finally make slow defensive Burner lineups hard enough to kill that they become a legitimate meta threat. If this happens, we're looking at magic dominance continuing for many more months, but with a new layer. Longer battles, more complex counterplay, Burner, a center of it all. Path 2. The next hero breaks the magic cycle entirely. Pure damage returns. Physical teams get the tool they have been missing since September 2025. The developers decide the magic era has run its course and they pull the trigger on a full reset. Now, which one is it? Before I tell you which path I believe is coming, I need to show you something the developers left in the data that most players completely missed. This is where it gets interesting. Look at the pattern of major meta shifts in this game. Augustus arrived in October. Lyria arrived in May. The two biggest meta-defining moments this game has seen, both landed inside those two windows. October and May. That is the pattern. That is when this game delivers its biggest changes. We are approaching May right now. My personal read, if the meta does not change in May, it will change in October. One of those two windows is when the next major shift arrives. The developers have shown us this rhythm repeatedly, and I do not expect them to break it. The only question is which path they choose. So here is the truth. Burner was not the destination. Burner was the bridge. The magic era that started quietly in September 2025 with a Krista rework and a new hero that most players underestimated, that era is either about to get deeper or about to end. Path 1 means Burner gets her partner and slow magic battles become the dominant style for another year. Path 2 means physical teams or pure damage heroes get their moment and everything resets. History says May or October. History says change is always coming. The question is, which side are you on? Drop a 1 in the comments if you believe Path 1 is next. Drop a 2 if you think Path 2 is coming. I want to see where the community stands. As always, keep thinking deeper, keep testing smarter. Salute and friendship. See you in the next battle.